What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day, the playoff edition. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss all the content this postseason and offseason, so subscribe, and without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Shane McClanahan, who had 5 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 2 runs. He had these upper 90s fastballs and really dominated with his wicked curveballs. These things were absolutely filthy. You can see why opponents only hit 139 in the regular season off his curveball. McClanahan's stuff looked very much like he was in mid-season form when he was the leading candidate for the Cy Young. Despite his brilliance, he was outdueled by Shane Bieber, who had 8 Ks in 7 2/3 innings, giving up only 1 run on 3 hits. Bieber dominated with his wicked slider, which had a 67% whiff rate for the game, as well as his cutter, and of course, his beautiful knuckle curves. And he played those pitches off his well-placed fastballs. Here's an overlay of Bieber's fastball and knuckle curve, and you can see why that combo is so tough. And he just carved up the Rays lineup. Absolutely prime Shane Bieber. Jose Quintana had 3 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up no runs, thanks to his fastballs and curveballs. He faced off against Zack Wheeler, who was brilliant, going 6 1/3 innings with 4 Ks, giving up only 2 hits and no runs. He had his 99-mile-an-hour fastball and sick curveballs. Here's an overlay of his 98-mile-an-hour fastball and an 83-mile-an-hour curveball, and you can see how well they tunnel together, and then that curveball dives to the dirt. Wheeler absolutely rose to the occasion, and it was an outstanding outing. Max Scherzer started out his performance pacing like a tiger. Yes, that's Max on the left. Unfortunately, during the game, he was a little more like a kitten. Things started out poorly and went worse, and he set the Mets record for the most runs given up during a postseason game. It was hard to tell if an injury was affecting him because his velo was about the same as the season average, and his spin rates weren't far off either, once you adjust for some pitch anomalies. I'm going to focus on the positive because Max did have 4 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, thanks to his fastball, his slider, his cutter, and his changeup. He was outdueled by Darvish, who had 4 Ks in 7 innings, giving up only 1 run and had no walks. Had this 91-mile-an-hour cutter, and yes, this is kind of down the middle, but don't forget Darvish has like 12 different pitch types, so it's very easy to get locked up on a pitch even down the middle. He had this Expelliarmus fastball, and had this tantalizing and beautiful 67-mile-an-hour slow curveball. That is gorgeous. Here's an overlay of Darvish's 94-mile-an-hour fastball and 71-mile-an-hour curveball, and you can see how the speed difference and the drop get you. Alek Munoz struggled, giving up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings. He did have this wipeout slider, as well as this filthy changeup, but he was outdueled by yesterday's filthiest starter of the day, Luis Castillo. Castillo had 5 Ks in 7 1/3 scoreless innings, but that doesn't do his outing justice. Check out the movement of Luis Castillo's fastballs. This looks like CGI, and that's at 100 miles an hour. And this 99-mile-an-hour sinker, well, forget about it. That thing ran 21 inches and dropped like it was made of lead. I have no idea how you're supposed to hit that pitch. If it was on MLB The Show, people would say this game isn't realistic. Castillo also had this nasty slider and K'd the side, leaving the field with this fist pump. Castillo put on an absolute show. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Ryan Helsley had this 99-mile-an-hour fastball and 90-mile-an-hour slider with a sword, and then the roof kind of caved in on him. Emmanuel Clase had this White Castle special, but my filthiest reliever of the day was Andres Munoz. Look at this absolute insanity. This is a 103-mile-an-hour fastball that ran 18 inches. Here it is with a tail, and that isn't fair. I also overlaid his fastball with his slider, and you can see why that slider is so tough. You have to deal with a fastball that touches 103, and then you're faced with a 10-mile-an-hour velo difference and that movement. You can see why Munoz had a 50.8% whiff rate on his slider this season and averaged 13.3 Ks per 9. And now, my Pitching Ninja moment of zen. You might say that Nathan wasn't for you. What is up, Ninja Nation? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start out with Kevin Gausman for 6 Ks or more. I'm going to take Aaron Nola for 6 Ks or more. And top it off with Jacob deGrom for 8 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?